Well, from the commercial aquaculture that I talked about that goes back to the 50s, those fish are not going into the wild.
Would you repeat the question?
The question was, sorry, I'm bad about that.
That's okay.
But the question was, after 50 years of culture of these species and releasing them into the wild, are they interbreeding with wild stocks? For the commercial aquaculture fish that are true domestic livestock on their farms, the catfish are being eaten. And, we eat them all the time and enjoy those. And the bait fish are, being eaten by the bass that they catch, and goldfish are eaten by the Oscars that eat them at home. So those are not going into the wild. They're being sold for commercial use. But I'll let Mark talk about stocking programs.
We bring in, we go out and collect brood stock, so that, and a lot of times our brood stock, we bring them in, spawn them, and take them back out to the wild. So in our culture, the brood stock are rotated, or not rotated, but we get fresh brood stock every so often. So that, I don't think that we have a real problem with developing strains like Carol was talking about and all that, and that they're pretty close to the wild. And so we do trade them out every now and then. And so I think that that has been a problem in places, and we think about it and try to, especially some like striped bass. We just finished our striped bass project. We go to Lake Ouachita, we collect striped bass brood stock, we bring them in and spawn them, and now we are actually trying to get in some fish from other waters, so we're not just all going to Lake Ouachita on that one. But the problem is there that one fish may produce 1 million fry, so that you have of a whole pond maybe the progeny of one pair of fish. So, and that may create some problems, but we do get fresh brood stock every year on those, and usually every 3 or 4 or 5 years. Catfish even, we get fresh brood stock periodically.
And I think we have.
I was just going to add that if you kind of look at the history of fish stocking, in some cases it might get somewhat of a bad rap in today's world, but when fish stocking became prominent, the habitat degradation was so severe. It was used for recovery where you wouldn't have those species there. They had to be reintroduced species. Those species were oftentimes wiped out, and so it has progressed from saving fisheries, saving species, to now supplementing for recreational uses. But stocking's used in endangered species management, keeping close look at genetics. If you look at salmon management, salmon fisheries out west, they keep that's done with genetics in mind in those strains of salmon that are moving in particular streams. So the genetics aspects of it is becoming something that's being monitored, and it is something that's looked at. However, for most of our popular game fish, the history had been throughout the U.S. of moving fish all around. So the genetics has been mixed up for many species for many years.